Well, hey, I'm Cass, and I have promised you today an espresso martini. So legend has it, in 1983, Dick Bradsell was behind the bar on shift, and a young model walked in and said she wanted something that would wake her up and her up. And Dick Bradsell delivered.
It was nice and wholesome.
The original recipe for this is vodka, coffee liqueur, espresso, sugar, shaken with ice, and then strained, served neat, with 3 coffee beans on top. Now these 3 coffee beans were meant to, also legend has it, signify health, wealth, and happiness. You don't have to ever garnish with 3 coffee beans if you don't have any coffee beans lying around. The espresso martini is such a fun drink. There are so many takes on the espresso martini, and it has evolved over the years. The original recipe is still awesome as well. Also, I have made a few changes to this original recipe. Today, I wanted to use Mezcal, but also I'm going to be using this foaming agent, and I'll tell you why. I do not have an espresso machine at my house. So when you freshly brew espresso, the highly pressurized water pushes through the coffee beans, and when it does that, it dissolves more of the CO2, carbon dioxide, in those roasted coffee beans as it goes through, and that's why you have that crema, that very foamy top. It's called the Guinness effect. It looks like foamy beer top. And that is partly what gives this drink its traditional foamy top. And I am going to be using coffee concentrate today. Also, feel free to use the Prism AeroPress. And because of that, I'll have a bit of a disadvantage as far as foam goes. Note, my espresso martini is less sweet than the traditional espresso martini. I do not tend to like the sweeter end of the espresso martinis. That being said, you can always add more simple syrup, demerara syrup, what have you. I will be using agave syrup today because I wanted to pay homage also to tequila. All of that to say, let's get started. All right, so I'm going to start with my coffee concentrate. So I have used 1 tablespoon of Jot and 2 ounces of filtered water. So the reason I chose Jot is because out of all the coffee concentrate, it's got the highest total dissolved solids, TDS. And the reason why that's important is espresso has about 8 to 10% total dissolved solids. And usually it calls for 1 ounce of espresso with some coffee liqueur. Since I'm not using coffee liqueur, I've opted to use 1 serving of Jot. And I wanted it to be as little volume as possible to fit into my espresso martini glass. So that, I'm going to use 1/4 ounce of agave, because once again, I'm not super fond of a super sweet espresso martini. Some drops of this. This one you can just sort of eyeball, we'll see. Well, and 1 gram of this. I can attribute this addition to another YouTuber named Dan, and I can link his YouTube down below. He's got some great recipes. Now, I wanted to use 2 ounces of this. This is a very cool mezcal. It's not going to be as smoky as other mezcals, which will be nice for this recipe because I use 2 ounces. And also because espresso martinis are not traditionally a smoky drink. But I wanted to have some fun with it, and I do love mezcals. So if you're looking for a mezcal that's some herbaceous notes, this one is for you. It's amazing. I'll tell you more about the tequila in a minute. All right, and then I need to add my ice and shake. Montelobos makes its mezcal much the way it has been made for about 500 years. They take the piñas of the mongue, species of agave plant, and they roast them for days in an underground fire pit, which is where it gets its smoky flavor. And traditionally, the piñas are ground using tahona or tapache, and is left in a stone, leather, or wood vat to ferment. And once fermented, the liquid is distilled in a copper or clay stills, and the mezcal is complete. And it does not have any artificial flavors. Also, the Montelobos contribute to the Wolf Conservation Center, WCC. They are trying to protect their desert gray wolf and red wolf. So that's also awesome. They sustainably harvest their agave as well. And I just wanted to draw your attention to that. I would highly recommend checking them out. I'll link them down below. Got my glass here. Cool. Usually open it the other way, but it's fine. All right. I'm gonna double strain this time. I should have used the other, that one, but that's fine. Voila. Bit of a struggle there at the end, but here we are. For the garnish, you don't really have to garnish it with anything if you don't want to. However, I wanted to emphasize the smoky flavor of this one by burning a bit of sage. Please use dried sage. In any case, it lends to a really beautiful smell around the drink. Aromatics is a wonderful part of the cocktail experience. So I'm going to tell you when, where, how, and why. Welcome to the coffee corner. A note on garnishes. So I wanted to have a garnish for this cocktail at first. However, I wasn't sure if they would throw off the composition. Like I said, I didn't have a ton of foam, and traditionally, espresso martinis don't have a ton of garnish anyway. Instead, I decided for an aromatic garnish with the sage, and it lent a really, really wonderful lingering smoky scent around the drink and the experience itself, which lent to the mystery of lupine veil, which is what I was really trying to present with this smoky espresso martini. I wouldn't pay more than $20. If you think that's really expensive, I agree. Inflation, bro. How to enjoy this beverage, at least the way that I have made this one. This one seems more mysterious. I would say slow drinking, rainy day, or overcast day. Dim lit bar, maybe listening to some music, live music, or when just talking after the meal is done and everybody is perhaps just talking. It is a nice drink to even sit quietly with, if you will. It's like the friend that you don't have that awkward silences with, you know? And once again, these are suggestions, not hard truths. These are, feel free to diverge. And once again, I wanted to point out that cocktails can be such a wonderful art form. And I believe the prevalence of coffee cocktails these days have really been reinvigorated due to the interest in craft cocktails and specialty coffee culture. And speaking of that, I am one of the judges for Coffee and Good Spirits, which is a US Coffee Champs competition. And it's a bit newer in the US, less than 10 years here. I know that it's been in other parts of the world. However, it's been a really awesome thing to be a part of because it brings these two heavily involved craft together. And it's such a wonderful thing to see. And I highly suggest you check it out. I'll keep you guys updated as I am also the graphic designer for that committee. And I'm working on a few things that I'm excited to share with you in the future. But my Patreon, I'll also be sharing more in-depth things with you there as well. But until I get a little bit further along in that, I just wanted to mention that maybe go and find US Coffee Champs on Instagram, maybe follow them there, and just keep an eye out. We just had our season launch for our 2025 season. So excited. And I just wanted to mention that to you because if you're here, it's probably something that you'd be really interested in learning more about or even being involved in. So remember, with all of this information, please do what's best for you. And with that, I wanted to say thank you again for listening and coming to my channel and saying hello. And please comment if you try them out. Let me know. And what are your thoughts? If you added any more sugar, how would you think? Or if you could describe this cocktail, how would you describe it? The recipe cards will be in my Patreon as well. And I will be updating the YouTube community on the Coffee and Good Spirits competition, and as well as my Patreon community. Thank you so much. Have an awesome day.